Hi friends, welcome to our class. Today, in previous class we discussed about the uses of clauses. We learned in that class what is class, types of clauses. How many types of clauses are there? 3 types: adjective clause, noun clause and adverb clause. Now we see adjective clause. It is also known as relative clause. Relative clause. Relative clause. It is mainly divided into 2 types. Number 1, defining relative clause. Number 2, non-defining relative clause. Defining relative clause. And non-defining relative clause. The another name of defining relative clause is restrictive relative clause. Restrictive. Restrictive relative clause. Restrictive relative clause. Non-restrictive relative clause. Non-restrictive relative clause. We call it identified relative clause also. Identifying relative clause. Identifying relative clause. The other name of defining relative clause is identifying relative clause. This is non-identifying relative clause. Non-identifying relative clause. How does it work in sentence? Relative clause gives an essential information. Relative clause. Defining relative clause. Defining relative clause gives an essential information. Defining relative clause. Defining relative clause. It gives an essential information. It gives an essential information to define or identify of a person or a thing, that we are talking about. Defining relative class. It gives an essential information of a person or a thing that we are talking about. For example, see one example. The woman who lives in the next door, works in a bank. He will ask you question like this: what type of class is the underlying part? Who lives in the next door? What type of class is it? For finding the answer, for finding correct option, you have to think. It starts with relative pronoun. It is relative class. But how do we identify? Is it defining or non-defining? It is very easy to identify. It is very easy to know the difference between defining clause and non-defining clause. See, one trick is there. If comma or parentheses are there in the sentence, that is non-defining clause. If there is no any comma or parenthesis, it is defining clause. So which option we have to select here? Defining clause is only right answer. Defining clause. It is defining clause. Friends, one more example for defining clause. For example, these are the flights that have been cancelled. These are the flights that have been cancelled. The underlined part in this sentence is that have been cancelled. We have to find what type of clause it is. It starts with that now. That is relative pronoun. So it is called relative clause. But we have to find it defining or non-defining. See, comma and commas or parentheses are not there in this sentence. So it is defining clause. It is defining clause. Now we see what is non-defining clause. Non-defining relative clause. Non-defining relative clause. See, in defining clause, essential information is there in defining relative clause. In non-defining relative clause, it gives extra information. It is not necessary. It gives extra information about someone or something. It is not essential for understanding who or whom that we are talking about. Without this information, remaining sentence gives complete meaning. For example, my grandfather comma, who is 87, comma, goes to swimming daily. Goes to swimming daily. It is very easy to find out what type of class it is, defining or non-defining. Commas are there, no? So it is non-defining class. It is extra information. It is not necessary in this sentence. Without this class, Remaining sentence gives complete sense. My grandfather goes to swimming daily. It gives complete meaning, na? It is extra information. So it is non-defining relative class. Now we all know the difference between defining and non-defining relative class. If commas and parentheses are there, that is non-defining relative class. If commas or parentheses are not there, that is defining relative class. Okay, thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe my channel.